Hi, and welcome to this edition of Married to Cinema. I'm Brian.
I'm Whitney,
I love movies.
and I don't.
So, in this edition, I'm pretty excited. We're talking about one of my favorite underrated sci fi noir films. And this is one that hardly ever gets talked about because the noir aspect people often disregard because they consider it too much of a sci fi actioner. Even though, if you look at it, and you take out all the sci-fi elements, it is straight by the book film noir, right down to several references throughout. So, I mean, you can already tell what it is by the title, but in this edition we're doing Steven Spielberg's Minority Report.
I actually really enjoyed this one. It was long, but I enjoyed it. Like, it was capturing.
Yeah, so a little bit about this film in terms of the plot. Inspired by a short story by Philip K. Dick. It tells the story, the future, set in 2054, where there are these precognitives, which are these beings that are able to predict the future and predict crimes, particularly murder. And it is about this police unit, that's the pre-crime unit based in DC, that use these precogs to stop murders from happening. Gigi's getting excited by this. She might be a little precog in training here. So the film tells the story of John Anderton, played by Tom Cruise, who is a pre-crime officer who finds this, what they call it, an echo, and that's when a precog is evidently giving visions again of a previous crime that's already been prevented, supposedly. And it's basically when they're just regurgitating the memory or the vision up. But he finds something suspicious about this, so he goes to investigate more about the murder of a woman named Anne Lively. Upon doing so, the following crime is one that he supposedly commits, so he goes on the run to try to figure out why he's committing this crime and what drove him here and try to clear his name and prevent himself from doing this.
That's pretty much the premise.
That's all we can really say without getting into spoiler territory. I wouldn't want to say any more than that. That is the setup for the film.
This movie from 2002 for them.
A lot of people haven't seen it.
It's good. At first, being not really a film person and also not being a science fiction person, when you described it to me, sorry guys, when you described it to me, I was like, this is not going to be interesting, this is going to take a long time, I'm not going to be able to follow it. But I will say, the opening scene is really like, just as a person that does enjoy action, I would say the opening scene very much gets you there, like, you're in it pretty quickly. Just like, really great action sequences. There's no better way to put it, really.
And I'm someone who, I'm extremely picky on action films, particularly ones done in the 2000s onward. And that's why, like, this film, it works so well as a sci-fi noir, and that helps elevate these action scenes, especially with a director like Steven Spielberg. Like, these big action set pieces are so exciting because he just has such a great direction and a plan for it, so there's this amazing kinetic energy, but you follow it throughout, and it's very sleek and stylized. And the color palette of the film, it's very, like, muted dark blue and gray to give it that noir vibe, while also blending that with the futuristic sci-fi element, and it's impeccably done. I remember seeing this in a dollar theater when it came out and instantly loving it, even though I didn't, like, fully appreciate film the way I do now back then. And it was one I went back and revisited, and I looked at the details more and was even more blown away. And
yeah, I was surprised when you told me 2002, because the special effects are really nice. It doesn't look crappy or cheesy at any time, to me at least.
And I think the thing about that is that's another reason why the color palette was an extremely smart choice to go with, so that the CGI, it wasn't bright enough for you to, like, notice the flaws as much, so it was, like, perfect to make it even hold up still to this day. There's a shot here and there where it's like, that's obviously CGI, but really well done CGI.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, I mean, it didn't look campy at all. You know what I mean? And I really like that the three, what are they? Cogs?
The precogs.
Precogs are all named after mystery writers. I think you and I both
Yes.
caught on to that pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's something I never picked up on because their names are Agatha, Dashiell, and Arthur. And I was like, okay, Agatha Christie, Dashiell Hammett, Arthur. Then it dawned on me, Arthur Conan Doyle. Yep.
Yeah, because that's the question I asked you too. I was like, who's Arthur? And then when you said it, I was like, of course, Arthur
Right.
Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes.
I was thrown off because I'm like, shouldn't it be Raymond, like Raymond Chandler, to come to?
Well,
Just like
no, to compare with
That's the same
Dashiell
vein as
Hammett
Dashiell
and
Hammett.
Agatha Christie. I feel
But
like
they're
Sir
all
Arthur
their
Conan
own.
Doyle.
They're all their own same styles of mystery writers, but Agatha Christie and Dashiell were the same time era, which made me think Raymond Carver.
Okay, I could
Or
see.
Raymond Chandler, I said Carver.
I knew what you
Different
meant.
guy, yeah.
I knew what you meant. I could see that, but I don't know. I like the names they had. So.
Yeah, no, I thought it worked very well. And yeah, Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett are cut very much from the same cloth, so interchangeable, really. But I really appreciated that aspect. And the other thing, looking at it, was this film was written by Scott Frank, who's a writer. Now he's been a director for, I guess, about 13 years now, since he directed his first film, The Lookout, in 2007. Excellent film. But I've been a fan of his for a while, and that was when I really started to catch on to these strong noir elements, and because a lot of what he built his career on, the vast majority of his work is in the neo-noir genre, from Get Shorty, Out of Sight, The Lookout, Walk Among the Tombstones, and this. It's all just very hard-boiled, gritty detective stuff. Or just mystery in general. He was very influenced by Elmore Leonard, which shows. And the cool thing is they took the short story. I haven't read it. I love Philip K. Dick, but I haven't read the short story it's based off of. But my understanding is this is more inspired by it and takes a lot of elements rather than trying to adapt it or flesh it out. And it was originally conceived in the early 90s as a sequel to the Paul Verhoeven version of Total Recall, which is interesting.
So you said it was a short story originally?
Originally
not
short
like
story.
a novella?
No, short story.
I'm just trying to think of, I would be interested to see, A, what they're considering a short story from a literature standpoint, and B, I don't know, it just seems like there was a lot of information there to be coming out of a short story unless they embellished a good bit.
Yeah, because the script changed hands a lot and went through rewrites, and then they had the one writer basically do his mold when they had it under a different production, different idea, and then gears changed, Spielberg took over, and they eventually brought on Scott Frank to do the rewrites. That's why he's the number one credited writer, and he brought his sensibility and what he likes to write about, and he interpreted the story and the way we see it now.
Okay.
Yeah, and kind of interesting that it started as a Total Recall sequel, considering that Colin Farrell co-stars in this, and he was in the Total Recall remake. So I thought that was kind of an odd little trivia bit, but...
So, and the whole situation with the son... Can we talk about it?
I can't really talk about it much, other than that's an element that's there. They use it as a red herring, but it's not a meaningless red herring in which they use it for purpose to explain elements of this character that are integral throughout the story in little bits. It's very subtle. There are a lot of pieces to this film that seem like they don't matter, but they really do when you look at the greater scope and the bigger picture of the whole thing. And that's what really blew me away on this viewing of it.
Something I also really liked was that the development of Agatha.
Yeah.
The precog. She goes from basically just this thing that you're not even sure when you first see them on screen if the precogs are even human. You're not even sure. You're just like, oh, they're like beings of some sort. Like they could be amoebas for all we know.
Might be aliens. We're not really sure.
We're not really sure until we get into the story to find out that they are actually just gifted humans. And Agatha really develops, and you grow to really connect with her. Like by the end, she was hands down my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, and very, very good performance by Samantha Morton, who I think is an excellent, very underutilized actress. Was in one of my favorite films, Control, in fact, where she was devastatingly impressive, and she really brings it to this movie. And like the more you get into this character, the more you feel the depth and the humanity behind it, and it just it makes the whole emotional impact of the film so much greater. And yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
There's a lot, yeah, and it's like
because meanwhile, during this whole film, they're being investigated by this FBI agent, Danny Whitwer, who's the one that Colin Farrell plays, because they're about to be up for a vote whether this whole pre-crime initiative, which is something new that was started up over the last few years, should carry on, or if it's inhumane and should cease to exist.
Well, and the concept of pre-crime is, in my opinion, kind of inhumane. Because they even prove it, like...
Yeah.
Like, the idea is, like, if you haven't seen this, that this pre-crime unit can get the flashes from the precogs, right? Is that their names? Yeah.
The precogs, yeah.
Of information and find out, say, you know, anywhere from a couple days to a couple minutes before a crime happens.
Depends on the nature of the murder.
Boom.
Yeah, specifically murder.
Specifically murder. This is what's going to happen, and they can go and try to stop it. And... the thing about that, and they even prove their own point in the movie, is, to me, that is pretty inhumane, because you're not letting someone make the decision. That's just one possible outcome.
And that is something they play with a lot. Like, there is a scene early on in which they even reference that whole David Hume philosophy of, if you prevent something from happening because you know it's going to happen, how do you know it's going to happen if you prevented it?
Yeah.
And that's a scene where Tom Cruise throws a ball across a table and Colin Farrell catches it. And he asks him why he catches that, and he says, because it was going to fall. It's like, how do you know if you prevented it? How do you know it's going to happen?
Yeah. Well,
Which plays into that.
It reminds me a lot of the classic psychology problem of the trolley.
Yep.
And,
I can see that as well.
And I can't even think of exactly how it goes, but you have the choice to...
It's sort of like a great ultimatum.
Yeah.
And that's what this film, what I gather, this film uses for its definition of the Minority Report, is that small chance that this individual who might commit a crime's future might be different, like they might make the different decision, which comes to this great debate of the cause and effect. That's the Minority Report. That's what Anderton's after. Is like, what if I don't do this?
Right.
And there's a scene where he's just screaming at Agatha, what is his Minority Report? And she says you don't have one. Which then opens up more questions.
Yeah, like...
It is a fascinating film, and might I also add, it is my favorite Steven Spielberg film by a fair margin. I'm not as much of a fanboy on his, like, big, hot ones like a lot of people are, but to me, this has always been the one that stuck with me that I love, and I think it's criminally underrated because not many people ever talk about it.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it when you explained it to me, and the title misled me. Like,
right.
I was like, Minority Report? Is this a buddy cop film? That's immediately what I thought. Like, it's gotta be like a buddy cop film. And then you started explaining it to me, and I was like, no, that's, and to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't laugh a single time during this movie, and for me, I know I'm cheap date or whatever. Generally, I need to laugh at least once during a movie to enjoy it. But this one was good. Now, I don't know that I would revisit it without a long gap in between viewings simply because it's heavy. But it was good. It was good. I'm glad I saw it. If nothing else, so that I have the frame of reference. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it, is like there's some slight humor that's very dark. Like I said, it is a film noir in its bones. It's very blood and DNA. It is a film noir that is basically in the setting of this sci-fi action epic. Right. And that's why, like, all the humor is it's there, and but it's very dark and kind of tough guy and kind of odd like that. But I want to talk about the performances. Also, we talked about Samantha Morton, but Tom Cruise, who doesn't get the credit, because if you give him some really good material, he can be excellent.
I don't think I've ever seen Tom Cruise in the capacity that I saw him in this film.
And
he was good.
Every Tom Cruise movie where I think he puts on an excellent performance, I would be willing to bet that you have not seen.
Like?
The Last Samurai, Collateral, Eyes Wide Shut, and Magnolia.
No.
Yep.
Nope.
Those performances,
and that's
excellent.
why we're doing this channel.
Yes. Yes. But
yeah, I've pretty much limited to Mission Impossible and when Tiny Tom Cruise comes on Family Guy.
The original Mission Impossible is excellent.
I don't remember which one's which. I remember clearly there's one where the girl that's a love interest in that one has to jolt him back to life at the end. And you don't think he's going to jolt back to life, but then he does. So I clearly remember renting that one on TV with my dad. But other than that...
The sequels blur together. I mean, the first one's the only one that sticks out to me because it's the only one that really feels like the whole spy espionage style of the series. And also because I'm a Brian De Palma fanatic and he directed the first one.
Joke's on you, I don't even think I've seen the first one.
Well, there you have it.
I think I've only seen sequels.
It's unfortunate. But anyway, yeah. Tom Cruise is excellent, and you've got a great supporting cast. You've got Max von Sydow, who's terrific.
That?
He was the mentor, leader of the pre-crime commission. Lamar.
I was like, Leonard?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
terrific.
Really good.
Yep.
I've seen him somewhere else, too, but I can't think of where it was.
Several places. I mean, of course, most people know him from The Exorcist or The Seventh Seal.
Well,
a lot of amazing films. He's been in a lot of things. Extremely Loud, Incredibly Close.
Sure.
Star Wars: The Force Awakens. But he's...
Okay.
He was an extremely
I've seen him around.
actor, yeah.
Okay.
Passed away recently, and I was upset.
He was good, though.
Yeah, he was very good. And then I forgot all the supporting actors we got in this movie. Like, we have, Peter Stormare is in it for a little bit. Of course, you know him. You've seen him in stuff. He's a big character actor. I can't think of any one thing, but he was the one who played, like, the little eye surgeon.
Right. Yep.
And, of course, Tim Blake Nelson, who played the guard of
Yes, Tim Blake Nelson. Yes, he was good. He did a great job. I thought his character was very entertaining. And, like, creepy but also comical in, like, an odd way.
Yeah, that perfect blend, yeah.
I think he might have been my favorite other than Agatha. Yeah. Like, he's the next one in line.
And then, of course, I also love it. You barely see her in the film, but Jessica Harper of Suspiria, Shock Treatment, Phantom of the Paradise is in it. She's had to hear me just keep saying, "Oh, Jessica Harper's my girl."
Movie. Oh, my girl, Jessica Harper.
Oh, it's my girl. I mean, she's been in 4 of my all-time favorite movies, really. Like, it's so very... I get to see her. She's barely in it. You couldn't even tell it was her.
It's okay. Whenever we review Indiana Jones, you'll get to hear me gush over Harrison Ford the whole time, so...
Yeah, well, at least he's in that substantially. I just got excited because it's like, oh, man... Jessica Harper in a big blockbuster, this might be the only, like, big budget movie she's ever been in, honestly.
Well, she was great.
I suppose so. Yeah, and also the film score by John Williams is another thing I want to touch up on, because, you know, Williams and Spielberg are like that. They're always working together, so if it's a Steven Spielberg movie, you know you can expect a score by John Williams, and honestly, like, I think this is one of Williams' finest scores. I think that largely has to do with my taste, where I'm a bigger fan of thrillers and film noir, and so his score plays more on that than it would, like, his sci-fi or adventure work, like Indiana Jones or Star Wars or Harry Potter.
Which hurt me when you pointed out to me that he scored all those things, because... you will all find out that I really like Indiana Jones. What an iconic musical score. And Harry Potter, too. And then you were like, oh, this is better. I'm like, no, it's not.
I can't say it's better. I just personally, myself, prefer it because it's more to my taste and my wheelhouse.
Well, everybody can have their own opinion.
Yes, this is true. Yeah. And so we'll get to reviewing her favorite Steven Spielberg movie in the future, for sure, which has already been alluded to. It stars Harrison Ford, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
Okay.
But she loves it. Minority Report, I think it is one of the most underrated science fiction
sure.
films ever made, honestly, because, like, all the other greats, Metropolis, Alien, Blade Runner, people always talk about, they never get left out. Even The Matrix, which I'm not a big Matrix fan.
I've seen that. Don't like that one either.
It's fine, but
all the falling numbers, right? That's that one.
It's also pretty goofy. But I think this is miles better than most of the big science fiction films people talk about. So, shall we rate it?
Sure. I would give this a 7.5 out of 10. Found it quite entertaining. Would not see again for a large gap.
I give this a 9.5. Like, I really love this film.
High rating from you. High praise. High praise.
Yeah, but I've yet to give a film 10 out of 10. And I know a lot of film buffs, a lot of cinephiles would probably want to try to hunt me down for not giving even my favorite Spielberg film a perfect 10. But I respect Spielberg, but I'm not his biggest fanatic and nor his biggest supporter. I think he has made some great films, a lot of decent movies, and a good number of crap, personally.
Good number of crap.
But this one plays right to my taste, and I think it is excellent. It is among my top 3 Philip K. Dick adaptations, and I just think it is an exciting movie from beginning to end. There is not a dull moment. Every little element about it just works so well. And I think it is one that more people should see. And
for sure.
If you haven't seen it in a while and you're wondering why we're praising it so much, rewatch it.
Go watch it again, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah,
okay.
So that's my Minority Report. Be sure to like and subscribe. Married Cinema.
We're up to like 20 subscribers now. I'm pretty excited because I thought we'd have like one ever.
But thank you guys.
So thanks.
Yeah,
like, subscribe, suggestions in the comments. We'd love to hear them. And that's it. That's Married with Cinema.
Thank you.